College students around the nation are preparing to go back to school soon, facing rising tuitions and a particular hit on public universities from budget cuts and a weak economy. NewsHour correspondent Spencer Michaels reports on the fallout in California.
The signs are everywhere. California's vaunted higher education system is broken.
How about the n equals 1?
Recently regarded as one of the top systems in the nation, California's public colleges offered places for all levels of students at affordable rates. But today at San Francisco State University, with nearly 30,000 students, and at all 23 of the California State University campuses, the squeeze is on.
It's really hard to get into the classes you need.
I took a math class last semester. It was an online math course. There are over 200 students, but we only have 2 to 3 teaching assistants to grade our homework. So it's ridiculous.
What are the sellers of items?
Nationally, higher education funding is expected to drop $5 billion this year. In California, such cuts affect both the elite University of California, or UC system, with 187,000 students, and the more broad-based California State University system, or CSU, with 420,000, the largest university system in the country. To offset declining state support in a poor economy, CSU trustees recently raised tuition 12%, on top of a 10% raise earlier, jumping tuition to about $6,000 a year. Though nearly half the students in the system receive financial aid, for the others, the raises have been serious. Robert Corrigan has been president of San Francisco State for 24 years, and he's never seen it this bad.
What I think we're seeing is increasingly the middle class being priced out of campuses like San Francisco State.
But Corrigan says he does understand why college budgets have to take cuts like everything else.
Who can you really blame? You come down to it, okay? The legislature, a large number of them are graduates from the California State University generally, but they're also committed to a number of other things within California, which is, what about the health care? What do we do with the needs of 5-year-old children or the senior citizens that need services?
Still, he says state universities like his were designed to attract a wide, diverse student body. Nearly anyone could attend.
We can't provide that access any longer, and we can't project that we'll continue to have the quality faculty that we need in order to educate them.
Phil Klasky teaches ethnic studies at SF State, and he's seen the results of the cutbacks.
I can tell you there's a big difference between me teaching a class of 35 students as opposed to 60 students. Quality of education suffers.
And so does the physical plant. Roofs that need replacing are left that way. Tiles fall off the ceiling in creative arts classrooms where the faculty has tried to patch the problem, though not very well. The cutbacks and the tuition increases have been met over the past 2 years by a series of demonstrations on several campuses, but they seem to have had little effect. Ethnic studies teacher Klasky, who has taken part in the protests, lays the blame for poor state funding on inequities in the tax system.
Once the public understands fully the impacts of these cuts on education, they will rise up and demand that we stop giving away these huge tax cuts to the richest Californians and the richest corporations, and California can return to become a model for the nation.
But others believe the situation is more complex and perhaps more long-lasting. The University of California at Davis is part of the 10-campus UC system, the jewel in the state's education crown that includes Berkeley and UCLA, ranked among the top public universities in the world. Cutbacks and tuition hikes here have jolted Davis Chancellor Linda Katehi, who is trying to preserve her school's high reputation. She thinks the state legislature's failure to fully fund education reflects a shift in values.
What is happening with higher education that is not anymore as high in the public's mind and not as high on their priorities list. And as we deal with an economy that is not going very well. I think the public worries about their well-being, about their health care, about their ability to live well after they retire.
With undergraduate tuition at UC now more than $11,000 a year, up nearly 10% on top of an 8% jump last year, many students are hurting. To lessen the crisis and to increase revenue, UC Davis has promoted its summer school program where the classes are smaller. It has encouraged admission of international students who pay high tuition. It has made some administrative consolidations to reduce cost. It has partnered with private enterprise rather than using scarce state money to construct a housing and educational village on campus. And it has just launched a drive to raise $1 billion from private and alumni sources, a large sum for a public university. But the chancellor says this is all part of the new world, which includes higher tuition costs.
We are making higher education more of a private good. We are asking the individual families and the individual students to pay for their own education. The time when the state was the main contributor to the cost of higher education is gone. And I don't necessarily see us going back to that.
That's because getting more money from the beleaguered state seems like a long shot given the legislature's refusal to raise taxes. Regent Russell Gould, former president of the board and former finance director for the state, said in the end a tuition increase was the only alternative.
The regents had to accept an increase in fees just out of fundamental financial realities.
That increase has had real consequences for parents like these attending freshman orientation week on campus this summer. Mayor Patel, who has a son starting Davis, runs a small hotel in Ventura, California. He says the tuition increases have kept him working overtime and created real hardships.
In August, we were planning to take a vacation, mini vacation. As soon as we heard that it's going about 9 to 10%, we stopped there. We canceled that. Last time I took time out was June 4, 2006. That was my dad's 50th wedding anniversary.
Even with the tuition increase, Regent Gould worries about the future.
I think the university is at risk in terms of its quality. The risk is if the lack of confidence is created in the university and faculty starts believing that this is not a sustainable enterprise, that California has given up on it, I think you could see an erosion of the kind of talent that we're able to bring to the university.
So the impact of the grazers on the land actually affects...
University officials at all levels, eager to preserve their schools' reputations, are reluctant to say the educational quality has already dropped. But they admit it's in jeopardy and that major changes are coming.